The gospel writers only give a mention of Jesus being flogged or scourged, because everybody in Roman times, in Jesus' day, knew exactly what that meant. They would take an individual and they would tie their hands either to a pillar or between two columns. Two soldiers, each having a Roman flagrum, would stand on each side. They would watch the breathing, because this weapon was such a powerful weapon that if they struck at the wrong time, they took a chance that they would pull out a lung. The purpose of this weapon was not to kill a person. The purpose was to beat them to the point of death and then back off. The Roman soldiers would have watched Jesus' breathing. His robe would be pulled off. And at the right moment, the first soldier would strike, and the ends of the whip, the ends that were weighted, the ends that were embedded with nails or metal or shards of sheep bone, anything that would act like a hook would have dug into Jesus' skin. And as that soldier pulled, it would have tore through his flesh. Our English word fillet comes from a description of this weapon, the flagrum, because when you fillet, you slice skin. The next soldier would have hit. They started with the upper part of the back and they worked their way down. Then they beat, beginning at the top of the chest, and worked their way down. Then they beat up the backs of the legs. Then they beat up the arms. Now, many people have been taught that Jesus was beaten 39 times. But this is not true. This is not in Scripture. It was a Jewish law that said you could not beat a person more than 40 times. So as good Jews, they would stop at 39, lest they miscount and accidentally sin against God. But these were not Jews who were beating Jesus. These were Romans. And according to history, there was only one thing that determined when they stopped. When they realized that they had beaten a person so bad that one more blow would cause death. They literally beat continuously, over and over, down the back, down the front, up the legs, up the arms, again and again and again, tearing through the skin, tenderizing the muscle, beating deeper with each blow, until they realized that they had beaten the victim to the point of death. The church historian Eusebius recounted in history a horrible scene of scourging. He said,
"For they say that the bystanders were struck with amazement when they saw them lacerated with scourges, even to the innermost veins and arteries, so that the hidden inward parts of the body, both their bowels and their members, were exposed to view."
Josephus, the first-century historian, wrote how Jews were torn to pieces by flagrums. Another historian wrote that a person's skin would hang like ribbons after being scourged. And even though the Roman soldiers were trained and they aimed their blows with accuracy, archaeologists have discovered the remains that show that individuals were also hit sometimes on the head. One skull was found with a top fracture in it from a blow from a flagrum. Another individual was hit full in the face. The Roman scourging was an act of extreme torture, which Jesus endured for you and me. If you had recognized Jesus before they beat him, the chances are that you would not have recognized him afterwards. If the Romans decided to let a victim live after a scourging, he would walk around the rest of his life scarred and disfigured, and he would become a walking billboard that said, "Do not mess with the Romans. If you mess with the Romans, this is what they will do to you." Jesus, at this point, has been up all night. He's been beaten around the face. He's had whiskers yanked from his beard. He's been laughed at, spit at, ridiculed, condemned to die. And now he's been tortured.